Good Sunday, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. This is Menasha West, and I am the owner and the founder of West Cornerstone Consultancy Incorporated. And I'm here today to talk to you about different types of corporation and what kind of corporation should you affiliate yourself with. So here we are today. And there are an array of organizations that would definitely suit your needs and also suit the purposes of your organization. So let's get started. Oh God, I'm so sorry. So yeah, let's get started. I want to talk to you about some of those, and let's go about seeing by way of how can we get everyone informed and involved with a deeper knowledge of what it is that they should be looking for when they decide to want to become a business owner. Most business owners find themselves to be as knowledgeable as they can, but they find themselves a little stuck when it comes down to choosing and deciding what type of organization, should they devote their interest to. And I'm here today to very much dispel a lot of the different notions or the holes in the information that, we've all received in the past. And I want to help people out who are absolutely ready to start investing in their organization. This is also informative too. It's not just for people who are wanting to necessarily get started with a business. Some people have an idea. Some people are innately kind of scared to step out on the entrepreneur format, and that's okay. It's okay to ask a lot of questions in the beginning. Find a trusted and true individual who is willing to walk with you, but please be very mindful that when you do approach a professional, that this person does have a business, and this person's business is predicated on income. So when you do have questions, please set aside some type of honorarium or just ask up front. If we have this conversation, will there be an honorarium or some type of payment attached to this consultation, so that you'll automatically know, what exactly to expect. All right. So here we are. All right. So, hi, Mr. Lewis. How are you? All right. So let's talk about the different types of associations. I'm going to start with the most well-known of them all, and I would definitely say the sole proprietorship is something that a lot of people are very familiar with. For this live, I would very much so suggest that individuals go get a pen, go get a paper, and sit down and kind of jot down notes. It's a live, so at some point I'm going to post it on my business page, and then others will be able to go back to that page and look at the material for themselves and kind of just break things down. All right. So different types of business formations. Businesses can be formed in a variety of ways. One by person, or by two or more individuals, or by businesses alone. So more businesses can come together and do what is called a conglomerate, or what is also referred to as an amalgamation. So forming a bond together. A sole proprietorship. That's the first one I want to talk about. You can form this by business, by self, with either an EIN number and or a social security number. Sole proprietorship is a business that's formed by an individual. That individual is personally liable. So that's something you want to put down. Sole proprietorship means I'm personally liable for my actions, and I can be sued individually away from my organization. Also, sole proprietorship is liable for the acts of your employees when those acts are within the scope of the employee's employment. So if I employ somebody to do a certain activity, i.e. paint a certain color, and this individual does not do the paint job to the specifications of what were stipulated in then said contract between the client and also the employee / worker, I can be held liable, and as well those individuals who are also my workers. So just even if you find yourself going this route, just know you're left wide open, and there's not much protection for you in that area. A lot of people do not subscribe to doing sole proprietorship when they have heavy liabilities attached to their business. That's one thing. So let's see what else. Filing papers and documents with the state is not required to file a sole proprietorship. So if you live in the state of Florida, you do not have to go on sunbiz.org and fill out any state articles of incorporation. You can just simply exist just by holding a sole proprietorship and saying, hey, here's my contract. I am a business owner, and people have to respect that if you are in an atmospheric position to do business. A sole proprietor can buy and sell real estate for use in his or her own business. Real estate is held in personal name of the sole proprietor. All right, so let's see what else. General partnerships. These are a little bit more lengthier than the sole proprietor. So what a general partnership is it's called just basically a partnership. And it's a business formation in which two or more people agree to share the profits or losses of a business. Okay, I can assist you with that, Mr. Lewis. I'll be more than happy to assist you. If you do have any questions, you can email me at westcornerstoneconsultancy@gmail.com. You can also send me a personal message by way of my DM, and we can go forward from there. And we'll talk more explicitly about what it is that you want to do with regards to your transportation company. Okay. All right. So a partnership agreement can be expressed or implied in orally or written, and no documents need to be filed with the state to create a partnership. So if in fact I do decide to go into partnership with someone, what it means by expressed or implied, if you see me and then said person doing business together, it's implied that we're doing business together. Express means if he and I both, or if she and I both agree that this is exactly what we're doing business together, it would still hold up in court to a degree. They have a thing, it's called the statute of frauds. And the statute of frauds was created in an effort to protect people that are business owners in the capacity of legal documents in court. That's why a lot of verbal contracts are thrown out because of the statute of fraud. The statute of fraud protects either party from implied or expressed, dealings. It's better to get it in writing, to be very honest, for anything. I don't care if I'm working with someone for 2 weeks. If I start a significant project, I am definitely going to send a contract out. Not only am I going to send a contract out, but in my contract, I'm going to stipulate this is the kind of relationship that we have for this moment. And then I'm also going to give what is called like a timeline of how long this business relationship will last. It can last for 3 weeks. It can last as long as the project is taking, but it's not implied, nor is it expressed, but it is explicitly written in a contract that can be upheld in the court should either party decide to default on that. So in forming a partnership, the interests of the partnerships are not required to be equal. So for example, one partner can have a 50% interest while the other two partners can each have a 20% interest. Not all partners are required to work actively in the business. For example, one partner can invest money, real property or personal property only, while the other partners actively work in the business. A husband and wife can be business partners, but marriage does not automatically make the husband and wife business partners. Let me say that once again. For all of the wives out there who have entrepreneur husbands, and for husbands who are confused about their wives' positions. When in any point in time does a person start a business without their spouse, that needs to be like a real serious conversation that needs to be had. That's not just something like, oh, hey, babe, I'm finna think about going to start a business. She's like, okay. And she's saying to her man, ooh, we finna be rich. No, my sister, you guys are not gonna be rich. He's gonna be rich. He will be the provider unless you decide to take care to your own advantage and put your name on that contract or put your name on those articles of incorporation documents, so that if at any point in time something does happen, that you have the ability to be a part of the business as a literal business partner. The principal characteristics of a partnership is that each partner is personally liable for partnership business and therefore may be sued individually. You can be sued individually just because, say for instance, I do my job and someone has failed to do their job in accordance to what their contract stipulates for their job or what have you. Yes, this individual can individually be sued. Not only can you be individually sued, but your property can also, the equity in your property can be levied by way of putting a lien on the property to satisfy any kinds of judgment that cannot be paid for by then said individual. So there are a lot of things that people would be very, very, very careful to familiarize themselves with when they're wanting to establish themselves as, a business. Let's see. So the acts of one partner within the scope of the partnership business are also binding on other partners, whether they know about what took place in the acts or not. Partners are joint or jointly together and are severally, which is individually, liable for all debts and liabilities of the partnership. If a partnership is sued, then the partners are named personally and as partners of the partnership. So not only is your partnership being sued, if anything does happen on a quasi legalistic side, you and your organization are being sued. So judgment is coming against your pockets to get whatever judgment it is, and also judgment is coming against your company. A lot of people do not like to form general partnerships. The tax benefits are good with general partnership, but there is the propensity of what happens when there is a loss. What happens if something does happen on a legalistic term. So partnerships may buy and sell real estate. That's another good thing in the name of the partnership. A general partnership is dissolved by any of the following events. The only way, pretty much this is what it's saying, the only way that your partnership can be dissolved for any reason is if someone dies, if there is a withdrawal, if a person is bought out, if there is an agreement with the partners, any kind of bankruptcy, or by a specified court order. That is the only way that a corporation can be dissolved. Well, not corporation, a general partnership. So look into that. All right. Now, there's this new thing going on, right? Everyone is, involving themselves in the real estate aspect of a lot of things. And I think it's very ambitious. I'm not going to lie. I love to see, the stories of people saying that they've hit it big in real estate, and they've been doing some really awesome things in the real estate, in the space of real estate. Amazing. It really is. But on the back end, I'm going to tell you what you can do as far as a corporation, and making sure that you're doing the right thing, so that the division of real estate does not come and send you a cease and desist letter and say, hey, we understand that you are, a real estate brokerage partnership, or however way you want to name yourself. But because we have did our investigation and we saw that this type of activity is taking place, we're ordering you, we're ordering you to cease and desist all activity. When they say stop, you got to stop. And not only do you have to stop, but your name has to stop. Your business and future businesses has to stop. And you then would have to go into another aspect of business, by way of maybe using someone else's name. A lot of businesses do get cease and desist letters from the division of real estate, and then find themselves having to change their whole name and just play the background, because their illegal activity has brought them to the forefront. And I would hate for anybody to have to deal with those folks. All right, so real estate brokerage partnership, you have to at least have one partner that's licensed as an active broker. A broker with an inactive license and an unlicensed person can be partners, but they cannot perform real estate duties. However, they must register with the department, which is the DBPR, the Department of Business and Regulations with the state of Florida. And each partner who provides real estate services to the public, either directly or indirectly, must hold an active broker's license, not a sales associate license, but a broker. In order for you to become a broker in a real estate aspect, on a legal scale, to have a brokerage, you have to have been under a broker and doing business as a real estate sales agent for at least 2 years. So that's the way that you would achieve brokerage. So 24 months, sitting humbly under somebody, under their tutelage, learning about the real estate industry and getting out there. And then if at any point in time you do want to hire someone who would be say a non-licensed real estate tycoon, all of these individuals who are getting into the wholesale aspect of real estate, then you would be able to, I am in Florida. You would then be able to have someone there in your office, in your facility, while you guys are making, a mess load of money. I know some really knowledgeable individuals, maybe more knowledgeable than a broker who has been in business for over 20 something years, who are not licensed, but who are doing phenomenal. When I tell you phenomenal, they really kicking some butt. They don't know the rules, but they know how to make money, and they know how to make money in real estate. So it's always good to have someone that has that license, that has your back, and that just so happens to be a broker. For all of you wholesalers out there who do like to do joint ventures with individuals, please find you a broker if you do decide that you want to go into that aspect of business ownership, okay? A sales associate or a broker associate cannot be a partner in a real estate brokerage partnership. What is a broker associate, Menasha? I have never heard of that. Okay. A broker associate is a person who is a broker, but who is still working under another a broker itself, and has decided to not assume the position as a broker, but still does the same duties as a sales associate. They are a realtor. A realtor is an individual who's a part of an organization of realtors. So when a person says, oh, I'm a realtor, it's just pretty much saying you're a part of that organization. You paid your dues to become a realtor. But innately, you're either two things. You're either a sales associate or you are a broker, and that's it. If you become a broker and you decide to not assume the position of a broker for a brokerage, you are then classified as a broker associate. All right. So a real estate brokerage partnership, it has to be registered with the department in the name of the partnership. So you can't just open up, a business and not register that business with DBPR in the state of Florida or in whatever state that you are in. Each state has the same classifications. Each state is their real estate curriculum and bylaws are pretty much the same. So you'd go about it in the same manner. In the event that a partnership has only one active broker, and the broker dies or resigns, the vacancy must be filled within 14 calendar days. During that time period, partnerships may conclude business that was already in process or progress and acquire new brokerage business. No new business can be formed until a new active broker is appointed and registered. People are opening up these businesses and they don't know the rules. Please, I'm telling you, when DBPR comes down, they charge you $5,000 per offense, $5,000. So that's each offense. If you have done 10 offenses, let's do the math. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, $50,000. And you got to come up with that money. So if at any point in time you are making all of this money in real estate, please make sure you are partnering up with, just at least have one legal individual in your office. I'm talking to these real estate mavens who are going to all of these different seminars and stuff like that. And you guys are like putting in work and paying $700 to learn how Tony Robbins and all these other individuals learned how to make these millions in the fix and flip industry. But I'm telling you, what they're not going to tell you is they have a legal team behind them and they're following all of the state laws. If they were not, they would have been exposed eons ago. Okay. So now what we have is okay, so we have LLP. I know nobody's never heard of that one. If you have, that means you do business a lot. But if you haven't, I'm going to tell you. And okay, no problem. Thank you. A limited liability partnership, that's called an LLP. And these are partnerships. So I'm going to get into the solidary portion of business ownership. But right now, this is just about partnerships. A lot of people do like to link up with other people for their benefit, and that's very well and cool. Some people link up just because there's like minds, and there's like associations, and there is people even link up because they have gone to the same sorority and things of that nature, or they've worked at the same job together. I mean, all of these things, that's cool, fine, whatever. But when it comes to business, and things need to be very much so black and white. And that's the realm that I live in. I don't live in the realm of, oh, hey, I've known you for 20 years. Hey, let's shake hands. Let's go into business. Let's do this implied contract. And hey, let's make all this money together. Well, something's going to happen. Some kind of loss is going to take place. If it were not so, they wouldn't have things called options. People literally sit around and they just read people's bylaws and read people's rules and regulations. And and this would be like for your partnerships. And they bid on the propensity of something happening negatively to your company. They literally sit and they just wait. And they bid on that because you have stock, you have ownership. So they're bidding against your stock. There are people that do that. Study, people. a serious business. It's very, very, very noble to want to start a business, but you need to know everything. And if you don't know, it's really imperative that you have good counsel around you, people that are actually doing their, what is called due diligence and studying these things and are making themselves very aware of all of these ramifications that come with business ownership. It's not being fatalistic, it's being mature, and it's having a conversation that is conducive to troubleshooting in the event that something does happen and preventing something from happening. A limited liability partnership. A limited liability partnership is only jointly and severally, which means individually, liable for acts and debts incurred or in connection with a partnership business. Individual partners and their employees or agents are not liable for the acts or debts of other individual partners, as in the case with the general partnership. So it's self-explanatory. If you decide that you want to do a limited liability partnership with all of your partners, if anything negative or adverse happens concerning your business, then everyone won't be penalized. It would just be that individual person, and your company's reputation and also financial standings will not be subject to judgment or any kind of liens or anything like that. A limited liability partnership must register with the Secretary of State, which that is your SunBiz for the state of Florida. So you have to register that organization. The words limited liability partnership or the letters LLP or L.P or LLP must be included in the name of the partnership. The partnership is required to carry liability insurance for a minimum amount of $100,000 for each partner. All right. Liability of the partners or the partnership is not limited to the amount of the insurance. Okay. So now comes back to the real estate aspect, because I'm trying to incorporate everything that I do, because I am going into the real estate arena. I've always been enthusiastic about wanting to become, a professional in real estate, and now I'm getting there and bringing it right back. So a limited liability brokerage partnership. These individuals may also register with the department and operate as a brokerage partnership under the same requirements as a general partnership. Be really careful with that, real estate people. General partnership, look that up. If you have decided to operate as a limited liability brokerage partnership and you find yourselves in some type of legal trouble or legal disagreement with one of your clients, your whole company and also individuals within that company are at stake. Okay? Even your personal property also. Okay? Joint venture. Let's talk about joint ventures. Joint ventures will be considered two separate individuals, or a joint adventure is another word for it. So please, when you hear someone refer to it as a joint adventure, please don't correct them. They're correct. A joint venture and a joint adventure is similar to a partnership in some aspects. The participants in a joint venture are jointly and individually liable. However, a joint venture is a temporary business, and it involves a single transaction or a predetermined number of transactions. So that goes back to what I was saying about how I conduct my own business. I do joint ventures. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, Menasha, I want you to write me a grant," we sit down, we talk, we discuss payment plans and payment options concerning grants. I discuss what I'm willing to do concerning research of grants and things of that nature, and then we come to a consensus. The consensus would usually be met with a contract stating, this is what I, Menasha, owner and founder of West Cornerstone Consultancy Incorporated, is furnishing then said individual by way of whatever, and this is the estimated time that then said project is over. They sign it, I sign it, and then that goes into one of their files, and I hold that. If at any point in time during that joint venture, it goes over the allotted time of what the contract stated, then what I do is I send out a revised contract. That revised contract would then have the new date on there, and it will also have revision at maybe like a footnote saying revised as of. So it's you're keeping yourself safe. It's really daunting and tedious, to say the least. But it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're not with the whole idea of losing money or spending money unnecessarily as one of the persons within the joint venture, then I would definitely say get you some contract templates, and you change, the stipulations of that contract to suit then said business at the time. Please do not do business with anyone for a specified amount of time. To be honest, anything over 3 days, we have to have a contract. I'm not doing business with anyone if I say 1, 2, 3, and then there's no contract. We can converse for 3 days. I can do a full consultation and charge that person $100 for an hour for every one of those 3 days that we've spoken about business. But when we hit day 4 and there is funds that have been distributed and deposited into my account in an effort for me to do a service, that's when the contract goes out. Because I don't want anyone to be lost on what it is that needs to be done and what are the tasks that needs to be fulfilled. A joint venture is the most simplest. It's the most. Hello, Natasha Ashley. We got an attorney here. I see you're watching. Natasha Ashley is an attorney, so I hope, Miss Ashley, what I'm saying, is correct and to your liking and things of that nature. But contracts, that's what I was speaking of. It's really serious with regards to joint venture operations in dealings with business operations. Do not be afraid to send off a contract to protect yourself and also to protect your customer, client, consumer, whatever you would like to deem them as, okay? Since the relationship is temporary, the participants can't bind one another to any kind of new transactions. As I stated before, any kind of new transactions would need a revised contract. You don't want to continue to hold them to this contract and it not be revised, and it has to be understood and agreed to on both parties. I would not move forward in any business endeavors unless the other person is understanding and in agreement to then said joint venture contract, signature, copy, all those things. If they're not in agreement, we can't move forward, and it will be really unfortunate because that's it. A joint venture, it can be formed either orally or in written. You don't have to file any documents with the state, with the Secretary of State, to create a joint venture. And then a joint venture can also provide any kind of real estate brokerage services if composed of separate real estate brokers. In this situation, the joint venture is not required to register with the department since brokers are already licensed and permitted to perform services of real estate. So again, as I said, all of my real estate mavens and my real estate savants, I would definitely say, please, 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 find you a broker and get you a broker on your team. Do not operate by yourself out here and go and watch YouTube videos trying to figure out the landscape of real estate. It will get convoluted, and you kind of will find yourself hitting a proverbial brick wall if you don't understand certain matters, or if you don't have money to afford an attorney who specializes in real estate law. Okay, so the next one will be a corporation for profit. And I'm almost done. Yeah, I'm almost done. I wanted to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about like 5 more business modalities. And then, if you guys have any questions for me or anything of that nature, no, it doesn't only apply in Florida, but I will tell you that with regards to any kind of business that you do find yourself doing, you always want to check with your statutes, about to say your Florida statutes, your state statutes, because although Florida may have one type of law, I might go, for instance, to your state, Detroit, and I may see that Detroit has something that is more stipulated and more and less ambiguous, which means like all over the place or without a definitiveness. There might be more definitiveness, so always check with your state laws. You don't want to forsake that under any circumstances. If you are curious, to know, you can always go online and you can plug in Detroit state statutes or statutes, and then you look those up. You can just plug in like certain words, and those words, they'll jump out. Anything with regards to transportation, you can just plug in transportation, and from wherever the statute starts at, that's where it'll give you, and you just read, write things down, hold those things. You look up business, you just throw in keywords and you will find exactly what you're looking for. So it does not always apply in Florida. Okay, so a corporation for profit. A corporation for profit is an artificial person that is created by law. How about that? So a corporation for profit is an artificial person that has been created for or by law. The owners of a corporation are issued shares of stock in the corporation and are known as stockholders. The stockholders elect a board of directors to manage the affairs of the corporation. The board then appoints corporate officers such as the vice president, a president, secretary, and a treasurer to carry out all of those day-to-day business operations. And then also one person can form a corporation in whichever one of their states. I'm reading from Florida, so their own stock, and they can hold all of the positions and officer positions in the board of directors. So pretty much what that's saying is, if I start a corporation, I could be the vice president, I could be the president, I could be the treasurer, I can also be the secretary in my own organization. Like, I can be all of those things, and I not be looked at Okay, I understand what you're saying now. I'm sorry, I wasn't having a moment. I was reading what the gentleman said. Okay, so the assumed name is okay. So that means you've gotten halfway there and you're just like looking to further complete the process. Bless you, bless you. How you doing, Snyder? So pretty much like that is what a corporation for profit is. You can be all of those things, and you can still like have like what is called a corporate veil. And what that does is it protects individuals from personal liability. So a lot of people start these corporate for profits because they want to be everything in their organization. That's one. And then two, what is called the corporate veil is what is attached to that entity. And a lot of individuals don't know, well, what is a corporate veil. When we watch MSNBC, and I don't know if people are like avid watchers of MSNBC or all of these other news junkets that are geared towards business, and the business jargon literally will go over your head when you're sitting there trying to, earnestly learn what they're saying. And sometimes they're not even talking about anything. Sometimes they could be speaking about the most rudimentary stuff. And you're like, they're not even speaking about anything. This is only when you know what they're talking about. But for the most part, they've created that in an effort for individuals who really don't know what it is that they're speaking of when you turn on NBC. But I hear a lot of times when they're talking about corporations for profit, they would say a terminology called a corporate veil. And the law protects this artificial person. And what the corporate veil does is it protects the individual itself from personal liability. The corporate veil can also be pierced to allow action against individual officers, directors, stockholders in case which involve fraud or civil wrongdoings called torts. So if you do decide that you want to form a corporation, what you would do is what is called a proposed charter. So you would have to do articles of incorporation, and they would have to be filed with the Secretary of State. And then the corporation would then be created under the Florida law, which is called like a domestic corporation. So any corporation that's organized under the laws of another state is classified as a foreign corporation. So when you hear things like the word foreign corporation, it's not talking about some corporation that's in China. It's talking about a corporation that is probably in Florida, and then they have like a sister branch in Ohio. That will be the foreign corporation. So these are things that when you're, watching the business channel, I challenge somebody who's watching this to go and watch the business channel tonight and sit there and wait. Because right now they have, the debate going on with Korea and China, and you got the G6 and all of these other committees that are coming together for trade and tariffs and all kinds of other embargo with different kinds of states. So in different types of countries, they're not talking about those people. They're talking about right here at home. So I would definitely say, challenge yourself tonight and see how many news junkets you can watch and hear and wait for them, to speak on things concerning foreign corporations. That's not out of the country. It's right here in the United States. It's just saying that it's saying say for instance, Ford in Detroit opens up a car manufacturer here in the state of Florida. That manufactured company here in the state of Florida would be considered a foreign corporation. All right, so a corporation that's organized under the laws of another country is classified as an alien corporation. Alien. So if we're not talking about, anything overseas, that is called an alien corporation, and that's what it would be classified as. So if you do have multiple businesses, say for instance, if you are in, what would it be like? Import export. So I know of a lot of my Facebook friends, they have gotten into importing and exporting things by way of, say, cars, large cargo and things of that nature. If you find yourself having another business, let's say you have a business in South Africa. I'll make it even more further than just saying Haiti. But let's say you're doing business with South Africa within Johannesburg, and you have your shipping company, your receiving company over in Johannesburg, and you have your shipping company over in Miami. Then you have another company where the cars come from in Detroit. So now we're doing 3 entities. You have your domestic in Detroit, you have your foreign in Florida, and then you have your alien in Johannesburg. So I don't know if I'm making sense to people that are out there. If I'm making sense, please do a heart bubble or whatever, just so I know you understand what I'm saying. So that's a way of doing international business, and also kind of protecting yourself and solidifying yourself as an individual so that you aren't at any point in time, having your veil to be infiltrated because of because of any kind of fraudulent activity. So just know, to be honest, me personally, once you start getting into alien corporations and international business, the best route would be a corporate for profit. I mean, you don't even have to use your name. You're creating a person, a literal person. You've created an identity that has been created just for the purpose of carrying out your international business. I don't know much about foreign accounts as far as like money and things of that nature. I have yet to get deeply into that, like offshore accounts, but I know that offshore accounts do benefit the person greatly when they're doing that kind of corporation, because they are not so tied down when it comes down to taxes, and they don't have to report the taxes that they are receiving by way of that business. If they are taking, say, for instance, the money from Johannesburg and putting it in an offshore account in Johannesburg, they don't have to report that. So that's kind of something else to consider. Like, I'm knowledgeable about a lot of stuff, but like I said, I kind of like keep things just for it's a need to know basis. So I don't know much about offshore, but I know just enough that the corporation for profit is something that would benefit any individual who endeavors to get into international trading. Let's see. So the corporate charter specifies the name, the lifespan, and the powers of the corporation. Since the name of the corporation is the actual name of an artificial person. So, you know how you see things like Davison and Davison Incorporated, and then you sit down with the owner. You're like, oh, your last name isn't Davison. Why did you do Davison? And thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. Why did you do Davison and Davison? And they're like, they don't want to tell you, specifically why they did Davison and Davison. But this is another like little homework thing that I challenge you to do. The next time you see a corporation that has a physical name, like, Dolce & Gabbana. I'll go on the fashion route. Dolce & Gabbana. Yes, true indeed. Dolce and Gabbana, these are, two names of then said individual. However, the organization is not them. The organization is exactly what it is. It's a corporate partnership, so it's a corporation for profit. Versace, you would see that. Yes, Versace is his last name. However, Versace and Gianni Versace is not the same person. They're a separate entity from each other until any kind of illegal activity takes place with then said corporation. That is the only way that you would know who a Gianni Versace is, and so forth. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I would challenge people to kind of like do their homework tonight and look for organizations that have a name, like a specific like human name. Right, like Carter and Carter. If you look up Carter and Carter and you go to whatever state that you're affiliated with and pull up their business files, you're not going to see anybody on there with that same last name. If you did, it has absolutely nothing to do with them. This is a fictional individual that has been created for the purpose of naming then said company. So the corporate name must include the word corporation. That's one thing. It has to include company, incorporated, or the abbreviations Corp, Inc., or Co. So Here's some examples of that. Tiffany and Co. Who's Tiffany? We don't know. But it is a name that is created, a fictional person that's created for the purpose of having a corporate for-profit. Another one would be Cohen and Cohen. If you live down here in Florida, there's like a big law firm, and it would be Cohen and Cohen, and then you would look it up and it would say incorporated, or it would say corporate, because they have partnerships and all of those kind of things like that. Another one is, like I said, anytime there's a specific name, like I can't even think of any more names off the top of my head, but when you see, Procter and Gamble, that's another one. Who's Procter? Don't know. Who's Gamble? Don't know. But this is a corporation that has been, created with a fictitious name, with the words co, corp, or incorporation. I can look that up for you. I can do that. Okay. So no business is allowed to use the word company in its name unless it's formed legally as a corporation, or unless the words not incorporated are added. So if you create a transportation company and it's called literally the transportation company, not incorporated, that is a key indicator that this is a corporation for profit business. And 9 times out of 10, they're working in multiple locations nationally and internationally. The lifespan of the corporation can be for a set period of time, or it can be perpetual. And the powers of the corporation are the activities in which the corporation is authorized to engage in, such as lending money or any kind of brokerage for real estate. A corporation can be dissolved by stockholders, courts, or failure of the corporation to file an annual report and pay the applicable fees as required by the state. A corporation is not dissolved because of bankruptcy. So if you know that, that's one of them as well. If you know for a fact that you would probably not be good with money, or at some point in time, you may find yourself engaging in any kind of legalistic battle by means of owing someone a certain type of funding, you would not be able, or you wouldn't have to dissolve your company, this type of company, in order to satisfy any type of debt. So what that means is, even if you do go through bankruptcy, they can't touch this corporation. You could still actively continue to work and make revenue, and they can't seize your company unless there's been some type of fraudulent activity, as I mentioned before, that has stemmed from the company itself. But if you find yourself in a state of bankruptcy and you're having things levied against you and having things, having to pay these fines or what have you, your business can't be touched if you do decide to go along the route of doing a corporation for profit. I hope I'm not boring you guys. I hope that this is like massively informative for people. It took me a long time to actually care about these kind of aspects concerning business ownership and things of that nature, but I decided that today would be a good day. It's Sunday, it's rainy, it's slow, and I said, you know what, I'm kind of like feeling in a mood to teach something. So I hope me teaching you, about different types of activities concerning partnership and partnership and business ownership isn't boring, you guys. All right. So let's talk. All right, so I'm going to get into limited liability company. That's your LLC. So earlier I was talking about LLPs, and now we're going to talk about LLC. And an LLC is a professional service corporations of professional limited liability companies or individuals, all of which are licensed and authorized to render the same professional service and can form a limited liability company for profit. Members are liable only for acts of their agents or employees, but not for the acts of members. Limited liability companies may not engage in any business other than that permitted by their professional licensure. So let me make you understand. If you have an LLC, a lot of people are like, oh my God, LLC is just so like, and I'm not responsible for anything. The only thing I'm responsible for is for the people that work with me and all this kind of stuff here. And the tax breaks are pretty good. Yes, they are. However, you cannot branch out and have anything else. If when you do your EIN and when you register with the Secretary of State, they're going to ask you specifically what it is that your company is doing. If what you only do is, if all you do is sell pens, you can't sell pencils. If you decide that you want to sell pencils, you have to drop the LLC, because now you're getting into another commodity. Now, if your licensure says you can sell all types of written apparatuses or tools and or stationary objects, then yes, you can sell pencils, pens, markers, highlighters. You can sell all of that. But if it only specifies that you are able through your LLC to sell a pencil, please be made aware you need to change your LLC if you do decide to operate and have any other type of business ventures incorporated with your name. All right. Let's see. The limited liability company must be formed, and it cannot be a shareholder. It also must be severed with any member, officer, shareholder, or any kind of employee who becomes disqualified to continue to practice in their licensed profession. A limited liability company, and it keeps stressing, in my documents, of a licensed professional. If you have an LLC and you are not a licensed professional, you are operating illegally. If you do not go to your department, or as we have in the state of Florida, what is called a DBPR, so that's your Department of Business and Regulations, and pick, like, say for instance, if you want to open up a bar, your bar would be under an LLC. Why would my bar be up under an LLC, Menasha? Well, because you need a license in order to operate a bar. If you open up a salon and you're doing hair in that salon, cosmetology license or a nail license or a hair license would be needed in order to operate that LLC. If you have an LLC and you do not have a license under then said company, you have you're operating incorrectly, and you would benefit greatly by following the rules and absolving yourself of any kind of tax convolution because of you deciding that, well, hey, this was a better method to avoid paying certain type of taxes. Well, of course, there are excises in these taxes and are huge tax breaks, because these are for individuals who are forming a business that is a limited liability. This is for individuals that, say, for instance, own a barber shop, and this barber shop has many individuals working in there. If something should happen to a customer in your barber shop, say, for instance, they get a staph infection because your barber failed to clean his tools or his hair cutting apparatuses correctly, then your business would not be held responsible. It will be that licensed agent or that licensed barber that will be held accountable for not following the rules that are conducive to maintaining healthy tools for then said business. So your business would not be at stake. The person who would be at stake would be the person who dishonored the rules concerning their license. But if you're not a licensed individual and you're just calling yourself, say for instance, like a consultant, if you're not licensed in the state of Florida to practice being a consultant, don't do LLC. Like, please, like I'm telling you, the IRS is going to drag you when it is time for you to do your any kind of money that you have made in an LLC. If you find yourself having to turn those documents into the IRS, they're going to ask you for your licensure. They're going to definitely ask you, where are your licensing documents from your particular state? And if you don't have them, then they're going to have you to go way back, start, fill out another kind of Schedule K and all these other different schedules. Just don't. Like, know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, find an attorney or somebody that is well-versed in this. Don't just establish yourself into an area because of hearsay or because you didn't get the appropriate information. I'm here and I'm dispelling the LLC myth on today. You have to have a license or a license in order to operate an LLC. So please be sure of that. If you find yourself not being a licensed professional, failure to do so is cause for judicial dissolution with the limited liability company. That just goes back to what I just said. Either you fix it or the state will get in and they'll fix it for you by dissolving your company for you and sending a cease and desist letter of all activity under We Fix Cars LLC, and you're not even a full-on licensed mechanic or a licensed whatever you're supposed to be fixing cars, and to be let alone having a company with the name or with the letters LLC behind it. So be careful with that. Be extremely, extremely careful. If somebody is, if you have formed any kind of committee with shareholders with your LLC and one person leaves, you got to dissolve the whole business. So if you and your friend girl decide to start an LLC, We Love Doing Hair LLC, and both of you guys are licensed, then one person decides to leave that corporation, it has to be dissolved in full totality. You by your own self, has to now go and start your own business, your own LLC, without that person on any kind of business documents. So that's something to like really, really, really consider. Once you sever ties with someone on a business level, it's really, really imperative to sit down and say, hey, we need to have a discussion. Are we doing a joint venture right now? Because if so, we can still work together. But I just want to make sure, are we still in business together? You know, are we still getting a bag together and making sure that we're still partners? Because if we're not, we have to properly and amicably dissolve this limited liability company, or else we're going to get in trouble by the state. You need to know that. You cannot just sit there and just like let your corporations just die, and also let your name die. When you also do a DUNS number, that is considered your corporate social security number. All of that is attached. If you and this person decides to dissolve your business, you must, I'm talking about on all ends, act quickly and just start cleaning it up. Start cleaning it up. Do not let it sit for too long. And make sure that, you do the proper name change, you do the proper EIN. Like, don't be afraid to like reach out for someone to fix then said situation. You can't just up and start a new business like that. You have to like properly close it, or else you will find yourself being fined by the IRS, and you will find yourself having some type of reprimand from the state. Okay, so a limited liability company is registered with the Secretary of State, as I mentioned before, and the name is required to be on file. The name of the organization can be the name of one or more of the shareholders or the individual members, and it must contain the word charter. However, in case of a professional association, the words professional association or the letters PA, and in the case of a limited liability company, the words limited liability or the abbreviation LLC must be included. So let's go back. If you decide to name your organization the name of one or more of the shareholders, like say for instance, my name is Menasha. So I have Menasha, and then I say like my kids. Okay, so Menasha and Wes, and I'm putting and on there, and then I would put, because it's a personal name, but it's still classified as an LLC, and it would be because, say for instance, when I become a broker, right now I'm just going to become, like a real estate sales associate / realtor. So it would be Menasha and Wes chartered, period. That's it. That's how it will be defined. That's how it will be recognized. And then those individuals would be like, I can put other people under me that are licensed or unlicensed, provided that they're not working in a capacity of licensure. And let's see what else. And then if I do decide to form just an organization, like a professional organization, the word like professional association can be added into it. So like let's say Menasha's Professional Association or West Professional Association. That would be an indicator of a person that holds an LLC, and they're licensed. If you go into a facility and they say that they are LLC, the first thing that you have a right to do as a consumer is say, oh, what are you licensed in? You have a right to ask. I mean, people are just claiming these things just to be claiming them, and they're forming like shelf corporations, and they're not even being recognized by their particular state. And if they are recognized by their particular state, at some point when it's time to file taxes, they're finding themselves having to pay an exuberant amount out, because it's later found out that, hey, this person is not operating in a licensed capacity. Please be careful when you are forming an LLC. Or PA. So it can be like West Cornerstone Consultancy, PA. When I finally do get licensed as a real estate broker in the state of Florida, I am most certainly going to change my my organization from an incorporation definitely to a PA. Why? Because I'm licensed, I have the knowledge, and also I can act as a business consultant under the guise of having an LLC. I can do that as long as I am licensed. If you're not licensed, please stop putting LLC at the end of your business names, okay? And the names mean something. You're just not sitting there saying one day, hey, I want to name my company Rocksteady LLC. Oh, why do you want to do Rocksteady LLC? I've always liked the name Rock, and I feel like I'm steady in everything that I do. And LLC, well, I just heard it's got good tax bracket, and it sounds good. And then here you got an individual saying, okay, I'll sign you up. I can give you an LLC. No, don't do that. don't get that person in trouble, because when you fill out those forms, those articles for them, you're most certainly not putting your name down as the registered agent who signed it. You're putting this guy's name down who wants to open up Rocksteady LLC. He doesn't have any kind of license, and he just wants to form this just so he can subvert any kind of tax penalties. Like, come on. Like, if you're in like a tax bracket of, say, over 6 figures, I'm not talking about even 100,000. I'm talking about going well into, I think if I'm not mistaken, you hit another tax bracket when you get into officially 250,000. Once you hit 250,000 a year annually, you have hit another tax bracket. You are no longer in the regular middle class American tax bracket. And that's by yourself, not with your spouse. All right, so getting to the last one. The word company, corporation, or incorporation may not appear in the name. The word company, incorporation, or incorporated may not appear in the name. Identification is limited to the word chartered or professional association or PA. And that's not what I think. That's what Florida law, Florida statute, I'm really finna get like technical. Florida statute 621.05 and 621.13. So if you really endeavor to look those up to give yourself some clarity, it's the Florida statute number is 621.050 and 621.13, just to give you some clarity on limited liability companies and what you can and can't do. So the last one, you know what? I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna do 2 more. So I'm gonna do a not-for-profit, and then I'm gonna do a corporate sole, and then that's it. And then if anybody has any questions concerning what kind of business, they should start or what they should operate, run this video back as many times as you want. Take notes. If you find yourself wanting to, sit down and do business with me, please know I'm just going to start being transparent with everyone that would potentially come to me as clients. I do consultations. I do business consultations. 30 minutes to an hour is a flat rate of $150, period. I am not in the business of sitting on my phone and talking about business, and I'm not being compensated for it. I find it to be very uncouth for any individual to think that that's the proper way to do business at all, especially if we don't have a common friendship, and you and I both know that you are coming to me on a business level. I value my knowledge. I value my time. I value your, inquisitiveness about business. And what I do is I give everyone like the best of me, and I give you the spirit of excellence in anything that I do. So I'm being transparent in that. If you do want to talk about business and you want to pick my brain outside of this realm, please be prepared to have a 30-minute to an hour conversation, and compensation is paid up front, $150. I'll give you the best that I got. Please take plenty of notes. And then if you want to do business going forward, I am not, objecting any kind of business going forward. Okay, so the last one, nonprofit. My God, I didn't talk my lipstick off. Okay, so a nonprofit organization. A nonprofit is a proposed charter, and that also must be filed with the Secretary of State. And to create a not-for-profit corporation, let me start that over again. In order to form a not-for-profit or non-profit organization, you must file with your state. A not-for-profit may buy, sell, and lease real estate in limited amounts for its own use. I love that. I love that. I love the fact that non-for-profits can actually use their tax exempt status to buy, sell, and lease real estate in a limited amounts for its own use. Now, employees of the corporation may perform services of real estate for the corporation without possessing a license, provided that they are only paid on a salary basis. And anyone who deals with a nonprofit organization should seek the advice of an experienced attorney. Now, not-for-profit organizations or corporations are frequently charitable organizations that are subject to various restrictions that affect their ability to buy and sell real estate. A not-for-profit corporation may register with the department as a real estate brokerage. So if you are a nonprofit organization, if you have just formed your 501c3 for the purpose of acquiring properties, selling properties, and or leasing properties under the under your nonprofit tax exempt status, which would be your 501c3 or 501c19 or something of that nature, you are very much so allowed and required to register with DBPR, with DBPR as a real estate brokerage corporation. All right. So that is something that I want to encourage all of the people out here who are wanting to get involved and invested into the real estate industry. As a nonprofit organization, you do have a right to operate as a brokerage corporation. Okay, so now the last and the final one would be a corporate sole. So a corporate sole is formed under the common law principles of religious purposes. And a corporate sole is not required to file any documents with the state. A corporate sole can buy and sell real estate for its own use, but the title of the property is not taken in the corporate name. An appropriate clerical personage takes the title as the sole title holder. Okay. In the event of death or the removal of the sole title holder, the title would pass his or her successor in office. Also, anyone who deals with a corporate sole should exercise caution, as title to real property owned in such fashion can be subject to various restrictions. Also, a corporate sole may not register as a real estate brokerage corporation. So, a lot of individuals who are, acquiring properties, but are a religious organization like a church and things of that nature, or whatever kind of religious activity that a person has ties with, you don't have to necessarily register your organization, but you can't operate as a real estate brokerage if you have failed to register. You can't call yourself a real estate brokerage corporation with your church. So a lot of individuals who have leadership positions in these churches, if you're looking to expand on your nonprofit organization from the aspect of acquiring properties by way of using just your EIN number or your tax exempt status with your church, do you have a right to do it? Yes. Do you have a right to transfer title? A lot of people, when they die, if they don't have any kin, or if they have died intestate, meaning without a will, or even if they have died testate with a will, they will oftentimes turn their property over to the church, and then the church then would take the title, and then the title, say for instance, if somebody else that has taken the title passes, then the title goes to somebody else and goes to somebody else, and it stays within that organization, never leaving. However, you cannot call yourself a real estate brokerage corporation unless you register with DBPR. So if you do have ties to any kind of religious 501c3 organization, tax exempt, and you're operating and acquiring properties and you don't know what to do, I'll give you one caveat. Go register with your state and get yourself as a broker, operate as a real estate brokerage corporation. And I would definitely say, you know, hire someone to be to spearhead that aspect, who does have knowledge of real estate aspects. All right. So that's all I've got. You know, I don't know how long I've been on, and I hope that everything that I've given to you guys was very informative, that you were able to sit down and take notes. Again, if you have any questions, hit me up with your questions. If you want to sit on the phone and talk, that talk is monetized, and it is monetized by way of honorarium of $150 for an hour. And that money goes towards the funding of West Cornerstone Consultancy. Okay? So, I don't know. That's all I have for you guys. Again, my name is Menasha West. I am the owner and the founder of West Cornerstone Consultancy. I do help individuals get established as nonprofits. I do exactly this, teaching any kind of educational seminars that you may have in mind, that you want to bring people in to get them educated on their options of business ownership. Please reach out to me. I am not opposed to public speaking. I'm definitely not opposed to teaching information that the masses needs to have. A lot of people are not going to sit down and read a book. Some people actually learn from being taught. And I think that, you know, I'm a very flexible teacher when it comes down to certain subjects. Not an official teacher like, you know, I've gone to school for education, but I will say that I educate myself and I keep myself abreast on things that are relative to running my business, nonprofit organization, financial literacy, any aspect concerning business. So if you do need any assistance from me, please do not hesitate to reach out to me at westcornerstoneconsultancy@gmail.com. Also, I'll leave my website in the description box. My telephone number, 786-564-9188 is how you can reach me as well. And if you're not able to reach me via phone, I would definitely tell you to go into my messenger. I'm very much so more liable to communicate via messenger than anything. Hi. Okay, so I just want to tell you guys good night. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to replay this video at your leisure. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Have a good evening. Bye.